band of brothers who will serve as the guides in what we call the masculine journey. The masculine journey starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey. We're excited you're with us this week, and I know I say that every week, but we are excited every week, and especially this week, the post-boot camp edition of the Masculine Journey. Andy, you having trouble with
I would love to see it one time when you come on.
Yeah.
Like, we are not very happy to be here. We're
Well,
not so excited.
maybe I'll look at you next time.
He was very excited about jumping in on you.
Yeah,
He was almost
Sorry, Andy, you set yourself up.
Yeah,
for that
yeah.
Well, you say that all the time. Yeah. We're
I
really
am about
excited.
to-
I was like, what else are you going to say?
We are excited. They're with us this week, and we are on the post boot camp show. And this is one of our favorite shows of the year. We actually have two of them throughout the year that we do this on, but it's it's kind of a recap of our favorite clips / moments / things that God did or things that happened at boot camp, and that's what this show is going to be about. And the after hours will continue it. And we just have a plethora of clips. Jim, that's a word for you. A whole bunch.
More than a few.
Yeah, more than a few. We've got
quite a several.
quite a several. Yeah, more than I can count. And that's not because I ran out of fingers. That's really what the limitation was on that. But Robbie, you actually have the first clip for the this boot camp show. So you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, one of the neat things about boot camp for me always is we have movie night, usually two different nights. And so we watch two different movies during those boot camps, and they're usually movies that we've seen numerous of times and used lots of clips from. And one of those movies that we watch quite often, especially this time of year, is The Legend of Bagger Vance. And it's just a neat thing. All the guys sitting there watching this movie, eating popcorn, but you've been with God all day long. You've had covenant of silences. You've been with guys that are really, running after the heart of God for a day, and God is clearly in the room with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching this movie, and you're present in a way that I don't know that you can be present except at boot camp. I don't know how to put it. And so I've watched this clip, I don't know how many times. It's called See the Field. But when you listen to it carefully, what Bagger is going to do is describe for Juna, who's a struggling golfer, right, how to find his swing because he's gone and lost it. But Juna's at the point now where he's 12 strokes back, and he looks like he's going to lose this match big time and embarrass himself totally. And he's just now, the catter, who's really the Holy Spirit character, has allowed him in his pride to try to hack his way through this thing. And now he's going to begin, once he gets contrite and starts to get himself out of the way, to get some real instruction. And here you go.
Are you hearing anything? No, me either.
The field, I see the field, but it's 445 yards long. It's got a little red flag at the end of it. It's 12 strokes ahead of me. Come on.
That ain't it. Because if you seen the field, you wouldn't be hacking at that ball like you was chopping weeds out from under your front porch.
Just give me the club.
Sorry I brought it up. Here, you're going to take that hack away.
All right, what's the field?
Fix your eyes on Bobby Jones.
Knock it out there, Bobby.
Look at his practice swing. Almost like he's searching for something. Then he finds it. Watch how he settles himself right into the middle of it. Feel that focus. And he got a lot of shots he could choose from. Duffs and tops and skulls. There's only one shot that's in perfect harmony with the field. One shot that's his. Authentic shot. And that shot is going to choose him. There's a perfect shot out there trying to find each and every one of us. All we got to do is get ourselves out of its way. Let it choose us. Look at him. He in the field.
Yeah, look at him. He's in the field. And again, sometimes you get to see other guys. To me, this boot camp has just been an amazing thing to watch the guys that have grown, giving talks. And Danny gave a talk at the end, and he highlighted that the passage that's pretty scary in Matthew. I think it's 7:22, where, God says, I never knew you. You did all this stuff in my name, but I never knew you. And it's a pretty scary thing. And the point that Danny made so eloquently and beautifully, the way the whole thing was set up, especially with this movie before it, was that, God doesn't want you to do things for him. He wants to do things with him. And so as he was describing that, and I was thinking about this clip and so many things this weekend that pointed to this, that, like on the radio, I have a lot of different things I could talk about. But when you get up in the morning, first thing you begin to search, God, what do you want? What do you want? And I love the way he said it. When you finally get yourself out of the way, like take everything off the table that you thought you wanted to do, you're now in a position for that shot to choose you. And it's your one true, that's the shot. And when that light comes on, for anybody who's ever experienced it, whether you're a computer programmer or whatever it is, that oh, that's exactly what he's getting at. And at that point in time, you can get complete focus, because you begin to picture, I like the way Harold put it about his poems, that there's this germ that begins to grow in your mind. And again, we get to see that, Sam, right? From all these guys as they are becoming into their one true authentic self, as God is teaching them in their masculine journey. And of course, I got a long, long, long way to go and a whole lot of getting myself out of the way, but it's just a beautiful thing for me, this camp, to watch, what God has done within the Band of Brothers.
Yeah, it was, we didn't have a lot of attendees at this camp, but whenever that's happened, God's got something special in mind. Every camp is special, but this time he really chose to come after the team in a lot of ways, and the campers, but I think if we would have had a lot bigger crowd, we would have missed some of the stuff that he was trying to do, with us, and we would have been not distracted, but we would have been on other missions and not really present, to what he was doing with us. And I think this was a really great camp for the people that were there, but also for the team, because I felt a lot of team growth and a lot of warfare for sure. This was a very warfare filled camp, but God triumphed, and it was really, really cool. So it's good. Rodney, you actually have the next clip if you want to tell us a little bit about it.
Sure. Let's see. The first thing that kind of struck me was that I need to go find a clip. I think I can hear it over that also.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't even want to get into what I chose and why I chose it really until after the clip, but I'm just going to describe the clip. You've got here, and I've never seen this movie. It's something within. I forget what
The Fight Within.
Yeah, The Fight Within. I just struggled to find something that had what I want, and I found this clip, and it's like, well, it has a portion of what I want, but not some other stuff. But it's still kind of a deep clip to think about. But what you have here is a guy pulls into this gas station. Obviously, he's had some trouble in his life as you hear this conversation go on, because somebody speaks into him. But he sees this guy sitting down at the gas station outside the convenience store. I think he's assuming he's homeless, which he may or may not be. But he goes in and orders something for himself, and then he's like, okay, I need to get something for him. And he goes out and shares some pizza with him and just sits down and has a conversation. And the guy who he's trying to help helps him way more and way more deeply, because he's talking about God to him. So let's listen.
Is that it? I got gas on 7, and let me get 2 slices of that pizza, please. Thought you might like something to eat.
It's mighty Christ-like of you, young man. Thank you.
I don't know about that. Just look like you could use some help, so.
You do too.
Yeah. I guess we all do, huh? Sometimes it feels like no matter how hard you try, everything you do is wrong.
Well, most people mess up because they don't know right from wrong. Just do whatever they want, whenever they want. Bad choices, making bad things happen. just running around trying to prove that somebody, not even realizing who they really are.
Yeah, well, who are they?
God's children, of course. He loves all of us.
Yeah, I guess if you say so, mister.
Now, just because you don't know you God's child, don't mean you're not. And if you ain't God's child, who are you? Well,
Yeah. So, well, who are you? And it's just amazing how God orchestrates all of us to be where we're supposed to be all the time, to do his will throughout eternity. Now, you started thinking of, wow, how he put certain people into our lives, certain people into the boot camp routine. And I went to Robbie telling us about this guy named Ricky Korn and his plane trip, and he's seen some things, and you start getting these stories and you're like, man, this guy is wild. Just all these stories about his past, what he's done. And you're thinking about many, many, many things other than really who he is. Who is he in Christ? But we've seen him now for several years. He comes to boot camps. He talks to Robbie a lot and other times, so we get to hear even more stories. But he's one of the most giving men I've ever met. I mean, he shows up with trinkets and gifts and things for us every single time. And it's not only the physical things, but it's what he says, his prayers, and how he just speaks truth. I remember the first few boot camps, we would always find ourselves going out praying together on walks and when we stake out the territory and stuff, and just loved that time with him. And you get to hear more and more of his heart. And his heart really is in wanting to serve and do things for other people. And like this one, every time I turned around, he's giving somebody another gift. And the other gift that we got was really coming from the ladies, right? They loved on us big time, serving us this past weekend. It was wonderful between those two giving.
Well, thank you, Rodney. We do have another boot camp coming up. I know we just finished one, but we have coming up in November. It's November 21st, I think, through 24th. I think that's right. It's weekend before Thanksgiving. Go to masculinejourney.org to register. We'll talk to you after the break.
Here are the contest rules for the Truth Network. Prizes won are not transferable, redeemable for cash, or exchangeable for any other prize. All prizes must be redeemed from the station within 30 days of winning. Only one prize per household from any station of Truth Broadcasting within any 30-day period. The rest of our contest rules are listed under the About Us link at our website, truthnetwork.com. Thanks for playing and listening to the Truth Network.
I spent a lot of time in the garage, but even more time in the rain and mud. In 95, I helped tow your moving trailer. And in 09, it was sparks from me, your chains, dragging behind your truck that accidentally started a wildfire.
Spark a change, not a wildfire. Visit SmokeyBear.com, brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway, looking for adventure, and whatever comes our way.
Welcome back to Masculine Journey. That is our bump in. It's Steppenwolf, Born to be Wild, and it's from Wild Hogs. It was one of the songs that was played in that movie as they were heading off on their adventure that kind of changed their whole lives. And so I was looking for a bump, and this one kind of came to mind, and I really didn't know why, other than I was like, oh yeah, we just played it the other day, and so I heard it. But I think, that's really what our story is, right? God takes us out on adventures that changes our lives. And that's been all of our stories. And I'm assuming that's been a lot of your stories out there, that God takes you on adventures you didn't really originally plan, or you planned something similar and he took you in a little bit different direction, and things don't always work out the way you thought they would, but often work out the way they're supposed to, if we just lean into him and let him lead it. And so it is good. We are born to be wild, but wild in him. And so that's where our thing comes in. And Andy, you actually have the first clip of this segment.
Okay. So my clip is a clip that I used during my talk on Cowboy Ranger, aka Cowboy Sailor, because it is a clip on sailing. But what you have is this guy that kind of, I think it's, we'll just call him the skipper. He's leading some boys out in this academy where the kids go out. They don't want to go to their senior year. They want to learn to sail, but it's like college prep too. So they're responsible for doing studying and all that stuff. But in this scene, you've got a storm that comes up in the middle of him giving one of these cadets or whatever the wheel. And it just kind of goes through that. You'll hear a lot of sounds and stuff. This is pretty visual, but yet you constantly hear the skipper's voice giving direction to this young man. It's a perfect picture of a being fathered through that Cowboy Ranger stage, and kind of the fruit of it. You hear him, the skipper, give him the wheel, which says, "I trust you to do this." And then at the very end, he tells him, you hear him several times say he does a good job. And then what's really cool, well, we'll play it. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but anyway, it's really a good scene though. I just thought through the whole process of that Cowboy Ranger stage of what it would look like to really be fathered well at that. And again, if you didn't get it at that stage, we're here at Adults. We're getting that same instruction from God, I believe, to help us initiate it in that stage. So
was that after weeks of training, with the hurricane season behind us, the Albatross took to the open sea. In each of us were feelings of excitement and hesitation for the man at the helm and the unfamiliar world he would be leading us into.
Hey, come here, pick the wheel. Come here. Hold her steady into the wind, southwest by west.
Sir, holding her steady southwest by west.
Wrong, Mr. McRae.
Seems like we're short on singers, Skipper.
Everyone sings aboard a windjammer, gentlemen. Let everyone know you're in sync. It shows unity, that all thoughts are one. Besides, I like it. We'll bear off the port and run downwind. All off to port, ease around, we're heading in northeast. Sing out when you're there.
All right, stand by to loose the squares.
Northeast, sir.
Speak up, boy.
Northeast, sir.
Loose the squares. Keep your eye on the pant, Chuck. Good job now. We'll have people in the water.
Yes, sir.
All stop on the engine. Behold, the power of the wind. Hard up the mainstaysail.
Hard up the mainstaysail. Get out! The ship's blown out!
Bring it in and run up the storm jib. Stand on each of the blocks. Nicely done. You're enjoying this.
The seas lasted 16 hours, and when we weren't throwing up, it scared the hell out of us. Skipper never left the deck, not once. I think he loved every minute out there. He's strong, tough, and he won't take no for an answer. But he makes you want to please him. I wonder if we'll ever live up to his expectations.
So if I didn't say it before, that's from White Squall is the name of the movie. It's a true story. 1961, I believe. They actually lost that ship, and there was a big deal about it. But really, it has.
Well, I haven't seen the movie. Thanks, man.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Spoil.
Is Rosebud a sled too?
I was getting ready to watch it with my wife.
1996. So spoiler alert.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
My bad. So I was trying to give a little context there.
It's okay.
But the movie,
have to watch it.
It really does. Just gives you some insight into that whole Cowboy Ranger stage that we get into, and you hear there at the end this. You hear the skipper the whole time, and you hear him, pretty much say, "Well done, now, good and faithful servant. Well done, my beloved son." But you also hear the son's reaction to that. It's not his son, but the kid's reaction to that he's been fathered well, and he said the father. I mean, I keep calling it the skipper, enjoyed it as much as the boys, and that we're hoping that we'd measure up essentially. And I think even then we're on this journey and you're learning and you're going back and you're being reinitiated in a lot of these things. Sometimes you wonder, am I doing this right, God? And I believe his affirmation is there for us. If nothing else, we're trying. We're opening ourselves up to be fathered by him. But I truly believe he's saying, well done, sons. And I believe that's what he said to the team and to the campers this week. So,
well, thank you. Was one of the boys named Gilligan by chance? I said something about skipper. I wasn't quite sure.
That would be me, probably.
No.
There's a skipper and I'm Gilligan. Right?
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Andy. Jim, you're next.
This is from Secondhand Lions. And I think two of the movies we used during this were ones that are many of our favorites and were blasted by critics, which I've actually come to the point of, if you criticize, you got real rough reviews from the critics. It's either truly an awful movie or it's a classic. And this is probably my favorite scene of any we play. It is, let's see if I can get it right. Not Dub, but Hub.
Hub or Bub or Rub.
Just Hub. He's part of the wheel here. Older guy, just got out of the hospital, feeling useless. And this was actually part, in fact, two clips are going to be ones that I used in the Sage talk. And the wound, which occasionally I identify with, is feeling useless. And this is how he deals with that.
Hey, old man. How's that barbecue? Give me some.
We're busy. Don't want to get lost, all right?
What did you say?
Here's a perfect example of what I've been talking about. Since this boy's been given everything but discipline. And now his idea of courage and manhood is to get together with a bunch of punk friends and ride around irritating folks too good-natured to put a stop to it.
Hey, who do you think you are, huh?
Just dumb kid, huh? Don't kill him. Hub McCann. I fought in 2 world wars and countless smaller ones on 3 continents. I led thousands of men into battle with everything from horses and swords to artillery and tanks. I've seen the headwaters of the Nile and tribes of natives no white man had ever seen before. I've won and lost a dozen fortunes, killed many men, and loved only one woman with a passion, a flea like you could never begin to understand. That's who I am.
Now, Hub, after he's taken out these 4 guys and they're all in pretty rough shape, takes them home, teaches them a few things about life, cooks them steak dinners after he's used the steaks to put on their eyes that are swelling up. And it's a beautiful example of finishing well, of not giving up and rolling over and play dead. And that's part of why I love this one. And the final outcome on that, if you haven't seen the movie, please get it, watch it. I'm not going to ruin it like some might with the ones they're talking about, but it's an outstanding movie.
Very family-friendly movie.
Yes.
For sure. The whole family can watch it, and it's very good. And thank you. Harold, do you want to take us home on this part? You want to tell us a little bit about your experiences at camp? We got a couple minutes left, about a minute and a half.
Yeah, that clip is one of my favorites as well. But the part, I guess, that I like the most is the loving one woman with a passion. And I have a selfish thing. My favorite thing from boot camp was when Robbie let me talk about having been married for almost 60 years now to my sweetheart. Nothing tickles me more than to be able to talk about her. I've been in love with that woman since we first met. In fact, we were engaged within the first 6 weeks that we knew one another. but it took about another 18 months before we could get married. I had to finish school first. And so anytime there's a talk about that, it catches my attention right away. The other part I liked was about Robbie was I am, in my own eyes, if not in others, that warrior poet. I had the spirit of a warrior because I thought I was going to be a fighter pilot in the Navy until I met my sweetie. She changed my life forever.
Was that a biplane?
It could have been. Could have been. I would have had to have that to go against the Red Baron.
Actually, the trainer probably was.
It could have been back then. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, that God works in mysterious ways to accomplish what He wants. I had passed the written exam for aviation officer candidate school only 2 weeks before her brother tricked me into a blind date, and then the rest is history.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you. We'll be back for the after hours. If it won't be on the regular broadcast, so if you want to hear that, you go to any podcast location. You can pick up Masculine Journey After Hours. We thank you for listening, and do something this week. Go love somebody well, and take good care of your own heart. We'll talk with you next week. What's that?
Giving away.
Oh, dude, I'm just teasing with you. I could care less.
I mean, I know you don't told me that you were going to watch it.
No, in the trailer, it pretty much alludes to it.
Remember you're streaming.
Oh yeah.
It's Sam.
It's just me. Why would you ever take me seriously? I'll tell you when you take me seriously. David, you gonna hop up there, David? Art?
Yeah, I'm leaving. I'm gonna go ahead and go to Charlotte.
On a jet plane.
Yeah, there's two people that need to
made you
jump
mad
in
enough
anyway.
that you're gonna leave?
No,
that
okay.
song.
So not at all.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for getting that in on the first show.
Big old 707.
I want to get there early. I got to get up in the morning.
Yeah, we all have to.
I mean, early.
Okay.
Early for me. Whoa.
Trying to get out of the way in about trying to get out of the way and making a mess.
No, I need a bigger studio. See you guys. Haven't seen next week.
Be safe. Right away.
Can you move out of the way, please, sir?
Yeah. Go.
Move.
You know,
another movie.
How much room do you
See you
need?
guys.
They both need quite a bit of room.
See you.
Always.
Facilitate any 2 months.
Yeah.
I haven't even talked to her.
Art was here.
It was right behind me.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
You went out back.
When you get more.
All right.
Sure. Be careful.
I think I'm guessing.
Heard any more from you, brother? Or just that thing?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not sure.
I know you're not going to believe I'm going to say this, but can you turn that down just a smidge? Not a lot. What? But they're rather loud. I know you had it tuned up for my ear.
I never touched it. Rodney, you can stay up here now.
Not that much, probably. Not
But Andy
that
left.
Oh, that's true. You can sit up here, Rodney.
You can sit at the kids' table.
Because Art will be back, and that'll be it.
That it? Yeah.
Andy left.
Yeah. We picked on it so much. But the Charlotte, I mean,
Here, I'll
they're
switch with you
desperate
since
to
you're
go
closer to
Charlotte.
that set. And it gives me power over my own destiny.
Density.
You just don't want those headphones. You want those headphones.
Well, what I want is my own volume control.
Now you got it tangled up.
I see that.
Well, we got time. You got 6 more minutes.
They won't figure it out by that time.
All right.
Tough call.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Art.
In the middle.
The art.
Either one of them.
In the middle.
Approach.
Yeah, right there.
We can hear the heart of art.
Sounds like an animal.
Yeah. So David the Builder.
Not Bob the Builder, David the Builder.
Are you actually like, man, that's your title, Builder?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Same title as Sam. He's got senior builders.
Senior builder.
Yeah, seniors need more building than juniors.
Circuit season starts on Saturday.
So you're not like a bit builder in training?
Yeah, technically I am. Yeah.
We are the BIT, so pity.
We use the word 2 or 3 times.
Kids are bright, the food is hideous.
I can sort of see it.
Do you remember that song?
Okay. We had a
I won't
failed
sing it
start,
further
so we're
due to the
initiating.
fact that we're streaming.
But
Reinitiated.
I wanted to quote my favorite movie.
Is Bill Murray.
You keep using that word. I don't think that's what means.
It just doesn't matter. Just doesn't matter.
He's thinking about it.
All right, we got the art cam going.
Oh man, it's zoomed in on you, Art. I mean, it don't matter. It just follows you.
Man, I have complete control over the art
I
cam.
did see that.
Don't worry, you can run, but you can't hide.
Dude, this is hurry. A big one. Go back.
It's okay. Only like 35,000 people are going to see it.
Came through the clouds.
And 35,000.
Just bring that hat down further.
Oh, no, I've seen the movie.
Well, currently, I think it's what, 7? I think currently it's 7, right?
I want to see
7
the
watchers.
movie again.
Both of our watchers are really excited about this. The Danny cam especially. Danny needs to slide up a little bit more in order to really be on the Danny
Can't
cam.
go but so far. I mean, there's like electronic.
No, maybe I need to just slide the Danny cam.
Plus, the angle shining the light on you kind of like
What
washes
about
out
that
the camera a little
You're
bit.
not even a senior builder. You
missed that conversation.
I really think you could be IT.
If you were a.
I am.
So I was singing, we are the BIT, so piteous.
It's from Meatballs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids are brats, the food is hideous. We won't go any further with the song right now.
Well, we had 7 watchers.
Why not?
Oh man, it dropped down to 2.
Now you got the Danny cam in full glory.
Yeah.
2,000 viewers now. Oh, it did jump up to 8.
Not jumped up to 9.
Ka-ching.
It's all because of Danny.
It's all once the Danny cam was in alignment. We've come alive. Maybe more people watch after hours. Could be. It's building momentum. We could get to double digits before the nighttime.
It was just that.
We have before. I've had up to 13.
Nice. Well, we appreciate him being there. So that's good.
Yeah, we do.
I can join real quick if you want to have double digits.
Share it with your friends. Go forth and be fruitful. Oh, we dropped off one with it.
Yeah, they're
Hush,
like,
Robbie.
yeah, that's
All right.
enough.
Yeah.
They want Danny. We want Danny. We want Danny. I know they're excited about art.
Yeah.
They said, wherefore art thou? And they found out.
They need a bill report.
Y'all have to help me.
You did a great job setting it up in the pre
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we got about 3 more minutes, I think, right?
Yeah. Just under 3.
So David, you'll go first.
8 seconds fast.
I think Danny will.
It was on 11.
Have you second, and then Art. Sorry, you'll be third.
There we go. We're double digits.
We got a plan. Oh my gosh, we've hit double digits. Thank you all our listeners for going, sharing, and multiplying.
One of the more entertaining things I watched while I was watching all of the many different eclipse groups. Was a guy in Michigan. He was doing out of his house about that house, great equipment. But he goes, oh, we're up in this video. And talking about, oh, somebody gave me $100, right? It was just a blast. So just a good old boy that loved astronomy. Had a nice setup that probably cost as much as his house did.
Setup of what?
Oh, no, we lost two.
Camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jim, shut up.
The longer you talk, the more people drop out.
Oh,
We dropped by 20% with Jim. We want Danny.
Andy
We
probably
want
lost
Danny.
signal.
Art, say
Yeah.
something.
What's your dead spot?
They're not doing this.
Put
No.
on your headphones.
No, we just need to-
Oh yeah, make him look radio-ish.
We got another 2 minutes. Something like that.
Well, just over one right now.
Just over one? Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't seen Keith come walking back in yet. So.
Yeah, but he walks in like 15 seconds left. Show's about
1 minute.
My first producer I ever had when I started doing radio was that way. Andreas was his name, and he never showed up in the studio like 5, 4, 3. There's Andreas. You're on. If you're listening, Andreas, I remember you drove me nuts. Every time you're in pure panic, what do I do if he doesn't show up?
Coming to you from an entrenched barricade deep in the heart of central North Carolina. Masculine Journey After Hours. A time to go deeper and be more transparent on the topic covered on this week's broadcast. So sit back and join us on this adventure. The Masculine Journey After Hours starts here now.
Welcome to Masculine Journey After Hours. We're in the middle of one of our favorite weeks of the year. It's the immediately after boot camp edition of the Masculine Journey, where we're talking about our favorite moments, our favorite clips, what God kind of did that weekend, or God did do that weekend that kind of did what God did do that weekend, and what He's continuing to do. And so we have a lot of different approaches to it. You know, it's clips that we used at camp sometimes. Sometimes it's songs. Sometimes it's clips we didn't use, but it makes the point. And so it's always interesting to see where God's going to take us on this. And so one of the most interesting to see where it goes is David, because David's up next. And so, David, why don't you tell us a little about your clip?
So I went on the Bagger Ranch train, and this clip is set up where him and Junior are standing in the woods. It's towards the end, and he's if you haven't seen the movie, like Robbie said, I definitely suggest going out and seeing it. It's Bagger's more of a God figure in this movie, and he's talking to Junior in the woods, and basically what he's saying is just let it all go and lay it down, and just trust in him what he's saying. So we'll listen to the clip and we'll come back and talk about it.
You're gonna be wanting a different club there, Junior?
I can't do this.
Hey, you might should just loose your grip up a smidge. You know, a man's grip on his club is like a
It's
man's
not what I'm
grip on-
talking about.
I know.
No, you don't.
What I'm talking about is a game. Game that can't be won, only played.
You don't understand.
I don't need to understand. And a soul on this entire earth ain't got a burden to carry. He don't understand. You ain't alone in that. But you've been carrying this one long enough. Time to go on, lay it down.
I don't know how.
You got a choice. You can stop, or you can start.
Start.
Walking.
Where?
Right back to where you always been, and then stand there. Still. Real still. And remember.
It's too long ago.
Oh no, sir. It was just a moment ago. Time for you to come on out the shadows, Junior. Time for you to choose.
I can't.
Yes, you can. But you ain't alone. I'm right here with you. I've been here all along.
You know, we watched that. I believe we watched that on Friday night, right?
Friday night, yeah.
Yeah. And so I actually had my first talk at this boot camp on Saturday for the stages of the masculine journey for the warrior talk. And right before it, I was extremely nervous, as I typically get before any responses. And this time being a talk, I kind of felt pressure, you know, not from anybody, but just myself. And I was sitting out in the outdoor stage, just praying all the way up before it during the covenant of silence that was right before it, and just couldn't shake it. And finally, I remember looking up at the sun and just hearing God's voice come down and say, "What are you nervous about, David? You're just going to be up there with me. It's just going to be me and you talking." And I said, "Okay, cool, we'll do that." Well, I wasn't, just like Bagger said to Juna, "You're not alone. I'm here with you." Well, God was telling me that, but not only that, even more so, I was there with my band of brothers the entire time doing it. So it was a great experience all around weekend. I mean, it definitely felt it going into this boot camp. Yeah, it was. God had the campers that He wanted there with us this weekend, but it really was impactful to the team.
Yeah, thank you, David. One of the things I thought's interesting was 5 of our clips, including the bump in the last show, is one of those clips as I included in there. So 4 clips in the bump came from things that weren't scheduled to be at the boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all had our clips, we all had things we planned to do, and then Robbie on Friday said, "Oh, I think I want to watch Bagger Vance tonight." And so, you know, we couldn't find it, and we ended up renting it so we could watch it, and so we watched it. And so 3 of the clips came from Bagger Vance. 2 we've heard, 1 we'll hear a little bit later. And then on Saturday, the guys had actually voted to see another movie, and I went, "No, we're going to watch this one instead," because I didn't want to watch the other movie really, and I wanted to watch this one. And so we watched Wild Hogs, and it's interesting how God knew what we needed to hear, even when we had no clue, even through the simple thing of a movie that impacted us. You know, and hearing these things so many times, just like in the clip you just played, where Bagger says there ain't a soul on this earth that doesn't have a burden to carry he don't understand. There's so many times I need to remember that, because I get so wrapped up in my burdens. You know, I think no one else can relate, but they all have them. Everybody does. You know, and there's things that happen in our life that we don't understand, and we may never get the answer to on this side of heaven, right? Or even on the other side. I don't know. It may not matter at that point, but you know, but God understands, and that's what matters. And so those things, those silly things like movies that speak to your heart, God's got a moment there for you. He's got something He's trying to tell you if you just dig in and say, "Okay, God, why that clip? Why that scene? Why this piece? Why is that speaking to my heart?"
My wife and I used to go to movies a lot, and she's always looking for God in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And with one exception, she's always found them, and we talked about it after and said, "Yeah, God was in that."
So Princess Bride was the exception.
No, it would actually be a surprise to you. I'll give you a hint. She finally decided that God might have been the volleyball.
Oh yes, I know what you're talking about. Castaway, yes. God was present when I was watching Princess Bride, because I kept praying for it to be over. Just joking, Jim. That's a pretty good movie. Danny, you're up next.
Yeah, my clip is from Secondhand Lines, and this is the secondhand line, so it's Secondhand Lines squared, I think.
That's true.
Yeah, so, but it's the final scene, and if you hadn't seen the movie, great movie, and the scene is Hub and Garth have been killed in a plane crash, in a biplane, upside down in a barn, because that's just who these guys were. And to watch the movie, and their nephew, who they have raised, is there. He's grown, and what's happened is a helicopter flies in, which you'll hear in the beginning, and there's an interchange between a guy whose grandfather had encountered Hub and Garth early in his life, and they took some of his fortune. And what you can't see because it's radio is that they'll show a yacht sitting out in a little pond, and it says, "Spent my grandfather's gold well, I see." But what the phrase is at the end is what we'll talk about. But if you listen to what their interchange at the end says, and then we can talk about it.
is where they lived. It's okay. Come here, buddy. Come here. Look at this. This. Forgive me. We were in Houston when we heard their names on the news, and we just had to come. When I was a boy, my grandfather told me such stories. Your grandfather? Very wealthy sheik. He used to love to tell me stories about his wild youth. Amazing, unbelievable stories all about two brothers helping Garth McCann, the most valiant and brave men, huh? He called them his most honored adversaries. The only men who ever outsmarted me. Wait, so you knew these two men? They raised me. It's an honor. Nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you. Wow. Aha. See, they spent my grandfather's gold wisely.
Well, there was this one traveling salesman.
So, the two men from great-grandfather's stories, they really lived?
Yeah. They really lived.
Advanced boot camp for me was kind of somewhat like a family reunion, because most of the campers that came in, and of course, I always grin when we all show up. Now, we see each other every week. But when we show up to boot camp, hey, man, how you doing? But it is like a family reunion. But to say that is that, that little boy said, you mean they really lived? And I said, yeah, they really lived. And the heart and soul behind the message of Wild at Heart and the Masculine Journey is, when your heart begins to come alive and you begin to really live. And, to see guys returning that we've seen at previous boot camps, to see how they've begun to really live. Mm-hmm. And to see how this team, and to hear the history of the team and the ministry, and realize that because men chose to really live, it impacted other lives. So I don't think there's anybody on planet Earth that can say that their life doesn't impact somebody else. Sometimes in negative ways, in positive ways, but, you guys have stuck out, particularly the guys who've been around longer than us, that stuck through some thick and thin stuff, and you really lived. Mm-hmm. And thus, here we are today talking about, David's first talk, we're talking about, the different stuff, and we're really coming alive simply because somebody chose to live. And that to me was what I walked away from for the most part. I walked away with lots of different things that we don't really have enough time. We'd be filling back and forth. But the reality of the fact is that, everybody matters. And you shouldn't never go through life thinking you don't matter, because somebody somewhere is going to say, yeah, he really lived.
That's awesome. Thank you, Danny. Jim?
Something hit me in that, and as I was thinking, that was accident. Those guys reminded me of Ricky Coy. I think in 25 years, I could see him upside down in the barn. And he's famous for the expression, I've seen some things. But I just, he is a guy that really lives. Mm-hmm. And he knows it his own way. And now Robbie, he knows him best.
Well, I almost feel like the listeners were cheated in the first show not to hear why Andy picked the clip that he picked, because I know why he picked the clip. He picked the clip because of the story that Corn lived, and I lived it with him because we happened to go to Jamaica on a mission trip. That's where I met Ricky. And the story goes...
the one Rodney picked.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the one Rodney picked, not the one Andy picked.
Okay. Let's blame it on Andy.
Rodney picked it, but the story behind it is just so cool. So we're stopping at a Burger King at about 3:00 in the morning because we just flown in, to Jamaica. And the leader of the group is very, very thorough about this is what you do, and you don't give anybody any money, you don't take anything. Whatever you do not give anybody any food. Is that completely clear? And everybody's like, yeah, that's completely clear. And so we all go in and we get our food, and this is as much of the story as I knew. Is we walked out, and we all see Corn giving this guy some food, right? And we get in the van, and the leader of the group that brought us, he unloads on Ricky. I mean, he just tears into him like there's no tomorrow, and Ricky just sat there. And what I remember of it, it was Ricky just was going to give that guy some food, and that's all I knew of the story. Well, here we are, I don't know what it is, 5 years, 6 years later, that Ricky is explaining the story again, and I hear an aspect to it that I never heard. That when he came out of the restaurant that night with his food, here's this guy in the trash, and he's going through the trash trying to find food, and he's taking the different cups of drinks and he's mixing them together into one drink until he could get, a drink from all these people's trash. And he lifts it up to the sky and he looks at Ricky and he says, "Isn't God good?" And he begins to drink this, super Dr. Pepper or whatever you want to call it, suicide thing. And Ricky is like, "Man, you need this more." And so, but that night in the van, he didn't defend himself because he didn't have to, right? He knew what God had told him to do, and he did what God led him to do, and that was Ricky's heart. And for me, that's a story at boot camp I'll never ever forget because I didn't know the story until I knew the story.
Real quick about Ricky Thorne, the thing we talked about is gift giving, and he's got a real gift from God for that because he finds things, and it could be any kind of thing. I always think about the stone he gave you, Brother Mark, and he didn't know Mark at all, but he finds things, and then when he sees the person, he knows that's who it belongs to, and it's some true God moments. I mean, I had one with him this weekend, that's just a gift that Ricky Thorne has. If you judge a book by its cover, you will miss a great read, I'm telling you.
Well, Art, we are off to your clip now. You want to tell us a little bit about your clip?
Yes, my clip is from the beginning of the movie, Wild Hogs. It kind of foreshadows the rest of the movie. It's about riding motorcycles. It's about freedom. In the clip, you hear a song, you hear bikes revving, and the theme of the movie really was, for me, the major theme was that we can lay our burdens down and find our freedom. In this movie, the group was seeking their freedom by going on a motorcycle ride together to California. They were escaping things. One character had a mundane, boring life that he was seeking to escape. One was going through a divorce and bankruptcy, and he was looking for a freedom from that. And it is something that God has put in all of us, an innate desire to be free and to be in a state of freedom. That's what the movie was about. The Bagger Vance character was attempting to lay down the burden of the trauma that he had received in the war, so that had ruined his golf game, and he was trying to get it back. He was successful in that, and while God has put in us an innate desire to be free, He is also giving us freedom through Him. He's given us a path to freedom to lay our burdens down. I did have a verse that I'd like to read now. It's now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. It's 2 Corinthians 3:17. And I was going to say, personally, a few years ago in my retirement, I thought that I might get a motorcycle and go riding, but my sister advised me against that, as it is kind of a dangerous thing to do. You get, but and I didn't, and it turns out that was a good decision to not do that. I did have a four-wheeler that I ride every evening with my dogs, and my dogs usually run beside me. But it's pretty much my favorite time of day to ride my four-wheeler and with my dogs, and there's a sense of freedom and leaving everything behind. So we'll go ahead and play the clip now. And
okay, here we go. Yeah, he runs into the sign there. Well, thank you, Art.
Well,
Go ahead.
Harold used to be a wild hog himself. He talked in the pre-show hour about enjoying riding a bike and the freedom that came with it, and also when he quit riding, he said it was the right decision to quit riding at that time. But it is something we don't actually have to all go out and buy a motorcycle. We can have our freedom through the Lord. We can have our freedom through we have these aids, movies and music that we can listen to, and we can be free. We have our friends, our group, that our brothers that we can, and sisters that we can rely on to help us along that way.
Well, thank you. Well, now we get down to my clip, which is the longest clip.
Oh, here we go.
I know.
Did you go through this whole clip?
Yeah, I know. Well, just hold on.
Bear with me.
Yeah, bear with it. It'll be over eventually. No, it's a very short clip, and I'm just going to play it and then come back and tell you why I chose it. It is from Bagger Vance, and what's happening is Bagger, which is the Holy Spirit, Jesus kind of character in the movie, is looking out at some bright sunny skies, and he makes this statement. And let's go ahead and come back and talk about it after that.
Show us some storm we're brewing.
Right, and so we're watching that movie, and this is after I had to talk on suffering. I didn't. We when we did the advanced boot camp, we kept with the talks that we did at the previous advanced boot camp. You know, that's what we decided we were going to do. And I did suffering last spring. And when you're doing the suffering talk, there are two different types of suffering. There's avoidable suffering and unavoidable suffering. And basically, avoidable suffering are the things that you could have some control over. You didn't ask Jesus about it. You made bad decisions. You weren't very mature. Those kinds of things are avoidable, right? And there's unavoidable, which comes down to, you know, when things are happening to family and friends, and you really are kind of powerless on it. And, you know, the first time I did the talk a year ago, my heart was really in that avoidable, because that had been a lot of my story. There was a lot of just stupid decisions I was still paying the price for and stuff. And I was coming out of a lot of that. And so it really didn't think about the talk I was going to do when I said I would do it. But a lot had changed in the last year. And, the whole other side of it, the unavoidable, has been what I've been living under. I lost my brother at Christmas kind of unexpectedly. My grandson, who's 6 years old, has been going through a lot of health things. It's been very uncertain at times, lots of things going on with that. And then my oldest brother had a major surgery earlier in February and has had a series of complications. And every time you think he's going to get better, he just doesn't. And so I found out on Friday morning, I was supposed to be doing the talk Friday evening, that he had had some bad news come back on some stuff. Nothing that we know is going to lead to either direction, but it wasn't good news. And so I got that, and it really was tearing me up a bit. And so I have to do this talk a little bit later, and I know God's going to be with me. I'm not worried about that part. I just don't know how I'm going to get through it. Now back to the storms of brewing. So what's happened before boot camp, we had some hiccups with our normal planning that didn't go well. Once we got to camp, there were some hiccups. There was just a lot of frustrations. There were some things going on. And I just was chalking it up to just warfare, which it was. But when Bagger makes this statement in the movie, a few minutes later, there is a storm that comes in, a little bit of rain, but that's not the storm he's talking about. The storm he's talking about is what Juno's going to have to walk through to get to freedom on the other side, right? And so when that clip played, and I've seen that movie countless times, God kind of showed me what he'd been taking me through that weekend. So what had happened that weekend was I'd found out that stuff about my brother. And there's a lot more to it, but we're going to kind of run out of time. But I'd found out the stuff about my brother. I got up and did the talk, and I don't remember a lot of the talk because I had what I planned to talk about, and then there's actually what I talked about. So I don't really know what was all in there. But God helped me get through it. It was very, very difficult at times. My brothers helped me get through it. But when I came off the stage, my good friend and brother Robbie came up to me and he said, "Hey, God had a word for you that he wanted me to tell you, that you've always been loyal." And I snapped right at Robbie. I was like, if I'm so loyal, why did I let one brother down and I'm about ready to let the other brother down? Because I wasn't there for him. You know, did I talk to him enough about salvation? Do I know where they were in their salvation? And I mean, it was like not angry at Robbie, just anger. And I went outside, you know, into a covenant of silence, and I walked for quite a while. And as I'm walking, God's starting to unpack some of that. And I get out there and he goes, "You know, that's an agreement, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do now." You know, that I've been living under this agreement, and, you know, walked and God helped me kind of see that more clearly and kind of pray through a lot of that. But had all those other things not taken place, I wouldn't be at a place to be at that point where God could reach me on that. The storm had to come for me to reap the benefits on the other side, to get freedom from that agreement that I had made, that I'd really let my brother down, you know. And there was so much more in that weekend where God came after my heart as a result of it. And it was just so freeing that, you know, sometimes I'm not a guy, I work outside all day long and I hate storms, absolutely hate storms. But, you know, without storms, how do we know to appreciate the times it's not storming and to live life, you know, through the midst of the next storm? And so what I'd encourage you this week is go out and, first of all, lean into God and let him love your heart well, but love some others well this week, and just reach out to them and say, "You know what? I've got your back and your Father has your back." We'll talk with you next week. We love you. Have a great week.